Moldova. You probably haven't heard much about it, right? And if you have, it was probably something like, wait, where is that again? Or, oh, isn't that the country no one visits? Well, you're not entirely wrong. Moldova is the least visited country in Europe, and today, we're going to figure out why. But before you think this is just a depressing story about a forgotten country, don't worry. We'll explore the good, the bad, and the downright strange. It turns out that Moldova has a lot more going on beneath the surface than people realize. So let's get into it. Why does no one come to Moldova? And more importantly, why does everyone leave? Let's start with the basics. Moldova is located between Romania and Ukraine, kind of sandwiched between Eastern Europe and the post-Soviet world. It's the poorest country in Europe. I know what you're thinking. How poor are we talking? Well, imagine trying to live on less than €5 a day. Yeah, that's what around 41% of Moldova's population is dealing with right now, according to the World Bank. Moldova's troubles kicked off after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. When Moldova was part of the USSR, it wasn't doing too badly economically, largely because it had a solid agricultural industry. It was the breadbasket of the Soviet Union, famous for its wine, which, by the way, is still really good if you ever get a chance to try it. But when the Soviet Union collapsed, Moldova suddenly found itself an independent nation, and things got messy. The economy couldn't keep up with the transition to a free market, and that agricultural backbone Moldova relied on? Well, it broke. To make things worse, Moldova got into a conflict with a breakaway region called Transnistria. You know that place. It's the one that still acts like the Soviet Union never ended. Transnistria declared independence in 1992, and Moldova hasn't exactly recovered from that breakup. Think of it this way. Moldova went through the ultimate bad breakup. Transnistria took half the stuff in the apartment and then blocked Moldova on social media. The conflict cost Moldova economically, politically, and emotionally. And unlike most bad breakups, there's no easy way to unfollow or move on. So, what does daily life look like in Moldova today? Well, if you visit the capital, Chișinău, you might be surprised at first. The city has some beautiful parks, charming old buildings, and there's a real effort to make it appealing for tourists, or, the one tourist who visits each year. But if you take a step outside the central areas, the picture changes pretty quickly. A lot of the country's infrastructure hasn't been maintained since the Soviet era. You'll see crumbling buildings, potholes big enough to swallow a small car, and abandoned factories that used to employ thousands. People are selling anything they can near the old train station. Used clothes, old shoes, random cables, you name it. It's not exactly a thriving economy. You might think, well, how do people survive? And the truth is, it's tough. Many are living day to day, making just enough to get by. According to official statistics, the average salary in Moldova is about €350 a month, which, let's face it, doesn't go far. Now, Moldova's poverty isn't just about money, it's about opportunity, or the lack of it. Imagine being young in Moldova. You finish school, you've got some dreams and ambitions, but the job market is practically non-existent. What do? Well, most young people take option 1, leave. Migration from Moldova is a huge issue. Since 1999, around 50,000 people have left the country every year. Let me put that into perspective for you. That's like if a small city just vanished year after year. Young people, skilled workers, and entire families are packing up and leaving Moldova, and it's not hard to understand why. But where are they going? The answer is a bit of a split. It depends on whether you speak Romanian or Russian. Moldova is a bilingual country, with Romanian being the official language, but a large portion of the population speaks Russian, especially in certain regions like Gagauzia and Transnistria. For Romanian-speaking Moldovans, the golden ticket is getting a Romanian passport. If your grandparents were born between 1920 and 1940, back when Moldova was part of Romania, you can apply for Romanian citizenship. And guess what? That passport gives you access to the entire European Union. It's like Moldova's version of a get-out-of-jail-free card. Suddenly, you're free to live and work anywhere from Italy to Germany, and most Moldovans take full advantage of that. For Russian-speaking Moldovans, the situation is a little different. They often head east to Russia, where they can find jobs without needing to learn a new language. Russia's economy isn't exactly booming either, but for many Moldovans, it's still better than what they have at home. Think about this for a second. In a country where the population is already shrinking, 50,000 people leaving every year is devastating. The World Bank predicts that by 2050, Moldova's population could drop by another 20%. It's like watching an entire country slowly disappear, person by person. And it's not just people leaving the country. There's also a big movement from rural areas into the capital, Chișinău. Now I know what you're thinking. Isn't that what happens everywhere? People move to the city for better jobs, right? Yes, but in Moldova, it's not quite that simple. In regions like Gagauzia, which is one of the poorest areas of Moldova, most people speak Russian. But in Chișinău, Romanian is the dominant language. This language divide makes it even harder for people to find work when they move to the capital. It's like trying to get a job in New York when all you speak is French. It's a tough sell. And the available jobs? They're scarce and don't pay much. To make matters worse, Moldova's rural areas are starting to feel like ghost towns. You've got entire villages where the schools are closing down because there aren't enough kids, shops are shutting their doors, and fields are going untended. It's like a slow-motion apocalypse. Imagine growing up in a place where you know that every year more and more people are leaving and there's no one left to take care of things. What would you do? Would you stay, hoping things might get better? Or would you pack up and leave, like so many others have done? Now let's dive into some of the more serious social issues Moldova is facing. First off, Moldova has one of the highest infant mortality rates in Europe. According to the World Health Organization, the life expectancy in Moldova is 73 years for women and just 65 years for men. And when you add the fact that so many young people are leaving the country, Moldova's population is shrinking fast. But that's not the only problem. Moldova also has a dark side when it comes to human trafficking and forced prostitution. Poverty pushes many women into dangerous situations, and it's estimated that around 12,000 women in Moldova are involved in prostitution. Many of them are trafficked to countries like Turkey, Cyprus, Italy, and Hungary, where they face exploitation. It's an issue that doesn't get talked about enough, but it's a harsh reality for many Moldovan women. Can you imagine being forced to leave your home, not for a better job, but because you have no other choice? It's hard to wrap your head around, but for thousands of women in Moldova, this is their reality. So what's the solution? Is there any hope for Moldova? Well, many Moldovans are pinning their hopes on the European Union. Moldova has applied for EU membership, and if they can get in, it could bring some much-needed financial aid and political stability. But there's always a but. Joining the EU isn't exactly a magic fix. For starters, Moldova's economy is incredibly fragile. Even if they do join the EU, they'll be heavily dependent on European funds. And let's not forget the complications of corruption, which has been a big problem in Moldova for years. Transparency International ranks Moldova near the bottom of Europe in terms of corruption, and that's not something the EU looks kindly on. If Moldova does manage to join, they could follow a path similar to the Baltic countries, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. These countries joined the EU, and while they've seen some economic growth, they've also experienced mass emigration. Most of their young people left to find jobs in wealthier European countries, and many have never returned. Moldova could end up in a similar situation, a country with few people left to enjoy the benefits of EU membership. So, where does that leave Moldova? It's a country facing enormous challenges: economic instability, mass migration, rural decline, and social issues like human trafficking. But at the same time, there's hope. If Moldova can get its foot in the EU's door, if it can curb corruption and stabilize its economy, there's a chance it could turn things around. The question is, will it be too late? Will there be anyone left to turn things around? Now, I want to know what you think. Could Moldova find success by joining the European Union? Would you ever consider visiting this least visited country in Europe to see it for yourself? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, if you've stuck with me this far, why not give the video a like? Maybe even subscribe for more content like this. Moldova might be the least visited country in Europe, but we're just getting started on learning about some of the world's hidden stories. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.